About 2 weeks ago, I was using Martin's laptop because mine was dead and I needed to check an email about my kid's daycare. Nothing sus about that, right? But when I opened the browser, I saw he had been looking at visa requirements for Singapore. We've never talked about Singapore. Like, never ever. I didn't think much of it, TBH. Maybe it was for something else. But then I noticed he'd also been looking at international schools in Singapore. We have a 3.0 and a 1.9. Why would he be looking at schools in another country? I closed the laptop and tried to forget about it, but something felt off. That night at dinner, I casually asked if he'd ever thought about visiting Singapore. And he got this weird look on his face and said, "Not really. Why?" And changed the subject super fast. I could tell he was lying because he wouldn't make eye contact and kept fidgeting with his fork. Red flag. The next day, while he was at work, I went through his laptop again. I know, invasion of privacy, whatever. But I was freaking out. I found emails between him and someone named Grace. The emails weren't like super explicit or anything, but there was definitely something going on. She kept saying stuff like, "I can't wait until we can be together properly, and the waiting is killing me." But here's where it gets really messed up. In one email, she said, "I've been looking at houses near that school we liked. Plenty of room for the kids to play." The kids? My kids? What the actual hell? I kept digging and found out Martin had applied for a job transfer to their Singapore office. He never mentioned this to me, not once. And he'd been approved. The transfer was scheduled for next month. He had a freaking plane ticket already purchased. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Martin and I have been together since high school. We have 2 beautiful children together. How could he do this? How could he plan to take my babies away from me? I was literally shaking so hard I dropped his laptop and cracked the screen. Oops. Instead of confronting him right away, which, to be honest, was my first instinct, I decided to be smart about this. I took pictures of everything I found and sent them to my sister. Then I started monitoring his texts by syncing his messages to the iPad. He doesn't know I can see them. For the next week, I watched as he texted this Grace person constantly. They never said anything explicitly about taking my kids, but they talked about the plan and making sure everything goes smoothly. He kept assuring her that everything was on track. I also found out he'd been moving money to a separate account. Small amounts at first, but over the past 3 months it added up to almost $20,000. Our savings is basically gone. I feel sick thinking about how long he's been planning this. Yesterday, I decided I needed to know who this Grace person is. I went through Martin's contacts and found her number. I didn't call her or anything. I just wanted to see if I could figure out who she was. I searched her on social media, and OMG, she's his coworker. They've been working together for over a year. Her Instagram is full of pictures from office parties and team lunches. Martin is in a bunch of them. She posted a picture 2 months ago with the caption, "Sometimes the best things in life come when you least expect them," with heart emoji. And Martin had liked it. I wanted to throw up. Today, I decided enough was enough. I waited until the kids were napping and confronted Martin. I didn't tell him everything I knew, just asked again about Singapore. He denied everything at first, said it was just something he was looking into for a potential vacation. I called him a liar, told him I knew about Grace. His face went completely white. He started stammering, saying I didn't understand, that it wasn't what it looked like. Classic. I asked him straight up if he was planning to take our children to Singapore. He wouldn't answer. We started arguing, voices getting louder. I was so angry I could barely see straight. He kept saying I was overreacting, that I was crazy. But then his phone buzzed. It was a text from Grace. I lunged for it, but he grabbed it first, holding it away from me. I screamed at him, demanding to see it. He refused, backing away from me. I followed him into the kitchen, still yelling. He was trying to delete the message. When I grabbed his arm, he shoved me away hard. I stumbled backward and hit the counter. That's when I saw it. On the kitchen counter was a manila envelope. It was partially open, and I could see passport photos of our children inside. Martin saw me looking at it, and his eyes went wild. He lunged for the envelope just as I did. We both grabbed it at the same time and started wrestling for it. Papers flew everywhere. I saw flight itineraries, passport applications, custody documents, everything laid out in black and white. His plan to take my babies away. I screamed and tried to gather the papers, but Martin grabbed me by the hair and yanked me backward. I broke free and ran for the kitchen drawer where we keep the big knife. First update. So, I guess I'm back with part 2, and honestly, if you read my first post, buckle up because if you thought that was wild, this is going to be even more of a mess. I'm still not sure I'm processing any of this right, but at least now I know I'm not crazy, just surrounded by people who apparently lost their damn minds. Let's just say after that disaster in the kitchen, me and Martin basically wrestling over an envelope like we're in some kind of low-budget reality show, which, by the way, I never want to experience again. I didn't even process what I was doing. I had my hand in the knife drawer, and for a split second, I just wanted him to back off. Not that I'd actually use it, but the look on his face when he realized how far this had gone. You could tell he never expected me to push back. The vibe was all wrong. Like, I get that people fight, but this wasn't normal married couple drama. This was survival mode. Anyway, the kids start screaming from upstairs because, of course, they heard the chaos. Great parenting moment right there. And suddenly, the spell is kind of broken. Martin lets go of my hair. I'm clutching a handful of crumpled flight itineraries. And there's Grace's name on literally everything. I honestly don't remember exactly what I yelled, but it was something like, "You're not taking my kids, you psycho." And Martin's just standing there breathing heavy, looking like he doesn't even recognize himself or me, honestly. I ran upstairs, still clutching the docks, and the kids are both standing in the hallway, eyes huge. My 3-year-old asking if Daddy is mad and if someone's in trouble. I said something like, "Let's get your shoes on. We're going to Grandma's." I grabbed my phone, my keys, the iPad. Can't forget that since it has all the synced messages, diapers, whatever random crap I could stuff in a tote, and just bolted. I left Martin with the kitchen looking like a tornado hit it, papers everywhere, and zero explanation. I didn't even lock the door. I called my mom on the way, trying not to sound like I was losing it, which obviously failed because she answered. And I just blurted out, "I need you now. It's bad." She didn't even ask questions, just said to come over. And I swear, if I could bottle up one moment of my life and replay it, it would be hearing my mom go into full mama bear mode. I wanted to cry, but also I kind of just wanted to scream. When I got to their house, my mom took one look at me and the kids, saw the torn envelope in the docks, and just said, "What happened?" Not in that fake calm way, but in a way that made me realize she was about to throw hands if necessary. Dad was still at work, so she started texting him like, "Get home right now." She made the kids grilled cheese and sat with me at the table, and I spilled everything. Martin, Grace, Singapore, the emails, the money, the physical fight. I showed her the bruises on my arm. She looked so pissed, but also kind of sad, which just made me feel worse. She started asking practical questions like, "Did Martin have the kids' passports?" "No, I found them in the envelope. Score one for me." "Did he have any way of taking them without my consent?" "I mean, he had flight tickets, but I don't think he could just grab them and go without my signature, right?" "Right." She wanted to call the police, and I said, "No, not yet. Not unless he actually tries something." I was scared, but also, what do you even say? "Hi, my husband's planning to kidnap our children to Singapore, but hasn't technically done it yet." It sounds like a bad soap opera. Dad got home maybe an hour later, and that's when things got loud. My dad is usually the "let's talk this out, nobody needs to yell" type, but not this time. He wanted to go straight to Martin's place and talk some sense into him. Mom was all for it, but I said no because honestly, I was scared he'd make things worse. My dad's got this old school protect my daughter at all costs energy, which is sweet, but also I didn't want him to get arrested for breaking down the door. So we kind of sat in this weird tension, like all of us waiting for a bomb to go off. The kids were running around, like nothing happened. Thank God for tablets and SpongeBob. And I was just scrolling through Martin's messages on the iPad, my mom reading over my shoulder. Grace texted him again, something like, "Did you talk to her? Is she going to sign?" And Martin replied, "She's being difficult. I'll handle it." My mom just snorted like, "He's got another thing coming if he thinks you're going to roll over." I honestly loved her so much in that moment, even if my stomach was in knots. It got even more awkward when Martin started blowing up my phone. First, it was calls, then texts, then more calls. I ignored all of them, but finally he sent this long, rambling voice note. He said I was overreacting, that I was making a scene in front of the kids, that nothing was set in stone, and he just wanted what was best for everyone. He never said, "I'm sorry," not once. He kept making it sound like I was the one causing problems. My mom wanted to call him back and read him the riot act, but I said no because I wanted to control the story. I wanted to see what he'd do next. Maybe that was stupid, but I was sick of being the one who reacted. I wanted to be the one who acted for once. Dad, meanwhile, was on his own mission. He started calling his friend who knows someone in family law. A classic dad move, networking when I'm falling apart. And he was all, "We need to talk to someone who understands this stuff because if Martin tries anything, we need to be ready." Mom started texting Martin's mom because apparently they still talk sometimes, which is news to me. She just sent a simple, "We need to talk now." No explanation. Martin's mom called back within minutes, and from what I could hear, she was totally caught off guard. She kept asking if I was okay, if the kids were safe, if Martin really did all that. I could hear the disbelief in her voice, like her son would never do something like that. My mom wasn't having it. She just said, "Your son planned to take my grandkids out of the country without telling anyone. We have proof." She sent her some of the photos I'd taken of the docs, and after that, Martin's mom got real quiet. I don't think she knew what to say. That night was the longest of my life. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept replaying the kitchen fight. The look on Martin's face, the way he just snapped. I kept waiting for someone to show up at the door. Him, Grace, the police. I don't know. I guess I was kind of paranoid, but also after what I'd seen. How could I not be? In the morning, I woke up to find my dad already dressed, making coffee, and typing out a list on his phone. He was in crisis mode, which for him means lists, plans, and backup plans. He wanted to go to the house and get the rest of our stuff because, let's be real, I wasn't taking the kids back there. Not with Martin around. He suggested I call a lawyer, and my mom agreed. They both offered to pay, which I appreciated since Martin had drained our savings. I felt weird about it, but also, what choice did I have? I texted my sister to fill her in, and she was immediately like, "Do not go back alone. I'll come with you." She's always been the more confrontational one in the family. And to be honest, I was grateful to have her. We drove over mid-damn morning, and the whole time my hands were shaking on the wheel. Martin's car was in the driveway, but I didn't see him through the windows. I texted him, told him I was coming to get some things, and that I'd appreciate it if he gave me space. No answer. My sister, who is way braver than me, just marched up to the door and let us in. I still had my key. The kitchen was a disaster. Papers everywhere, a broken mug on the floor, one of the kids' shoes in the sink. It smelled like someone had tried to clean up and just given up halfway. Martin was upstairs, and when he heard us come in, he stomped down. He started right in asking what I was doing, why I'd run off with the kids. He tried to make it sound like I was the one who abandoned him. My sister just stared him down and told him to back off, which he did, probably because she looked ready to throw down. We started grabbing clothes, toys, diapers, all the boring kid stuff. Every few minutes Martin would try to talk to me, saying things like, "We need to figure this out. You can't just take the kids away from me." I told him I'm not the one with a plane ticket to Singapore. He kept insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that he never meant to hurt me, that he was lost and didn't know what else to do. He said he felt trapped, and that Grace made him feel alive again. I almost laughed at that, like, "Sorry you're bored, but maybe don't blow up your entire family." Then he said something that honestly floored me. He said, "You always act like you know best. You never listen to what I want." Like, wow. Okay, so this is my fault now. I told him I wasn't going to stand there and argue about who listens better. I just wanted my kids safe, and I wasn't going to sign anything ever that let him take them out of the country. He got quiet after that, but the look on his face was pure resentment, like I'd ruined his life by stopping him from running off with his girlfriend and my kids. As we left, my sister took photos of the house, the mess, the papers, just in case. Martin watched us go from the front porch, arms crossed, glaring, back at my parents. Dad was waiting with info from his lawyer friend, who basically said Martin couldn't take the kids out of the country without my permission. But if he tried, it would be a huge, messy legal thing. He said to watch out for Martin, trying to get me to sign something just for travel or whatever, and to keep all the passports and docs somewhere safe. So, of course, my mom immediately put everything in a lockbox in her closet. She's not playing around. A few hours later, Martin's mom showed up at my parents' house. I was honestly dreading it, but she came in looking 10 years older, holding a big Tupperware of soup. She sat down and just asked, "Is this really happening?" I showed her the emails, the flight info, the money transfers. She got so quiet, just shaking her head. She said she never thought Martin could do something like this. Then she started crying, which, yeah, that sucked. My mom hugged her, and for a weird moment, it felt like we were all just lost together. Martin called while she was there, but she ignored him. She said she needed time to process, and that she'd talk to him when she was ready. She even offered to stay the night in case I needed backup. I didn't say no. The kids loved having their grandma around an NGL. I kind of did too. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't know. It was Grace. Just her name popping up made me want to throw my phone into the street. She said, "I'm sorry for everything. I never meant for it to go like this. Please don't blame Martin. He's not himself." Like, excuse me? I didn't reply. I didn't even know what to say. The next day, my dad got a call from Martin demanding to see the kids. Dad told him that wasn't happening until we talked to a lawyer. Martin got mad, said he'd call the cops, said I was kidnapping our children. Dad just laughed and told him to go ahead. So, now I'm sitting here at my parents' kitchen table, watching my 3-year-old build a tower out of soup cans, my 1-year-old drooling on the iPad, and my mom and Martin's mom whispering in the living room about what to do next. My dad is making another list, and Martin is probably stewing in his own mess, wondering how it all went so wrong. I know we're just getting started. And to be honest, I'm scared about what comes next, but for now, at least, the kids are safe, and I've got my family behind me. Second update, I'm not a hero, just a mom who got pushed too far. So yeah, that's where I'll leave it. If you're still reading, thanks for sticking with me.